Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining another TAUS webinar. My name is Annemai van der Meer. I'm the Events and Training Director at TAUS. And today we will talk about community-based platforms for data and AI. I just want to briefly tell you a bit about the agenda for today. Simone, if you could go to the next slide. It has an overview, yeah. So I'll start with a welcome, already did that, and some introductions for the speakers today. Then we'll talk about the rise of the cultural professional, as we like to call it. We'll mention the two types of community-based platforms, and then Simona will dive into the TAUS Human Language Project experience. And then the second half of the webinar is reserved for a conversation with some of our HLP ambassadors and crowd workers. Of course, we have reserved some time for Q&A, so if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, feedback, feel free to write them in the chat or in the questions box, and we'll get to that in the end. So with me today, I already mentioned, is Simona Beccaletto. She is heading up the Human Language Project at TAUS. But also a few of our workforce. We have Abdul Salam Yildirim, who is an ambassador for HLP. We have Shamila Gavar, also one of our ambassadors based in Sri Lanka, and Sara Giuliani, who is one of the crowd workers here in Europe. So we'll talk more with them in the second half. But for now, let's have a look at this new, or fairly new, idea of community-based platforms, and indeed, as I said, the rise of this cultural professional. In the previous couple of webinars, we talked a lot about data for AI and MT and data services like cleaning and anonymization. And while this whole idea of language data for AI really grows in importance, it's also inevitable that the role of the human and the human intervention in this whole cycle will change with it. So on the other hand, or on one hand, humans will become more closely involved because this data needs to be checked, evaluated, augmented, it just needs to be supervised. And on the other hand, this profile of these human activities in the traditional language industry has significantly evolved. We've always searched for well-trained language experts to be our translators, but with data at the core, different skills that are more closely suited to supporting machine intelligence are required, because machines need to be fed with a wide variety of data to process and properly process the language content. For instance, if you want to have a machine recognize voice commands, the AI system needs to have data with male, female voices, young, old, and a broad variety of accents for all kinds of languages. So to deliver all these language services, we are seeing that data providers are creating crowdsourcing platforms and apps where all types of data can be generated and evaluated to deliver the appropriate training outputs. And through these platforms, new communities of human resources or crowds are created. And these communities play a new role within our translation industry economy. And I said it earlier, the skill set of this new role also extends beyond just language. By contributing knowledgeable annotations and evaluations to the training or the data training tasks, whether voice, text, or image, these crowd workers, we're seeing at TAUS, are becoming cultural professionals for that part of the world or community that they know best. For our language data for AI report, which we published last year in the fall, we surveyed 205 LSPs worldwide, and 29% of them are already claiming a crowd-based platform, and another 15% is planning to establish one to cater to that increasing number of data-related requests that they're getting, which perhaps also causes a bit of a reconfiguration of staffing needs within the translation industry. So on the one hand, we see a subset of translation companies beginning to employ more AI experts and data engineers to benefit maximally from these new data training opportunities. And then on the other hand, we see companies building new communities of cultural professionals to handle all these data tasks. And that last bit is what we're focusing on today. So before we go into the Human Language Project, it's, I think, important to distinguish between the two types of types of platforms. The AI wave we're currently riding on has fueled the growth of this type of work significantly, and it's only got an extra boost because of this whole COVID pandemic, when unfortunately a lot of people worldwide found themselves looking for alternative sources of income, online work, to have an easily accessible way to earn some extra money. And so in 2019, TAUS has established its own community-based platform, the Human Language Project, and Simona will talk more about this. But yeah, as I said, it's important to distinguish between two types of crowd communities. When we talk about these community-based platforms, crowd workers, crowd communities, it's all a bit of the same. We see two types of platforms and apps emerge. So on the one hand, there are open or general platforms like Amazon MTurk or Clickworker, where anyone can register themselves to work and pick up tasks. So all kinds of tasks are listed for anyone to see and any worker to pick up, sometimes preceded by a quality check or a test. And on the other hand, there are closed or controlled platforms like our Human Language Project. In this case, workers are recruited and put together for a specific task that fits their knowledge and capabilities. So the workers are supported and supervised and can only pick up tasks for which they are pre-assigned. So with that kind of background information about the topic for today, I would leave it to Simona to introduce you to the Human Language Project.
Yes, thanks, Anna-Maria, and hi, everyone. Yeah, indeed, within these bigger industry developments that Anna-Maria just mentioned, TAUS also saw the value of the community approach applied to our own language data services. So indeed, in 2019, we started our own controlled crowd work-based platform, what we indeed call HLP in short, or the Human Language Project. And we chose this name also to stress the fact that even in an era like this one of AI and ML-driven developments, human input is still essential, although in different ways than what we've been traditionally used to. In the beginning, with the HLP, we focused mainly on tackling the scarcity of language data in low-resource languages, but it has been gradually expanding to more and more languages, also the more traditional European ones, and also to more data enhancement services on top of the language data creation, which was the very first one to be launched. And well, to make this work, there were two elements that were essential: a functional platform and a dedicated community. We developed our online platform internally with our own development and NLP teams, so that it could be very flexible in adapting to changing data needs, and started building a control community of HLP workers in many different locations, from Nepal to Myanmar, Laos, and many more. And indeed, we'll hear more about this in a little bit from Abdul Salam and Shamila, two of our ambassadors who worked with us in building these communities locally. So far, we developed a community of more than 3,500 workers covering more than 25 languages. Here you see a bit their geographical distribution. Our biggest community is in India at the moment, where we currently cover 6 of the main Indian languages. And we also have smaller communities in Southeast Asia and the Middle East. As mentioned, we have also growing communities in Europe, and we started preparing to extend to African languages as well. And we actually very recently started creating communities in South Africa to cover 2 of the local languages, Zulu and Xhosa. Sorry for the pronunciation, I can never get it right. Well, you don't see it at all on the map yet because it is really, really recent. But who are the members of our communities, the humans? We focus on highly educated native speakers, mainly language studies students, recruited based on the different project needs we might have. In some regions, both the workers' recruitment and management is done together with our local ambassadors, while in other cases, like we did for Europe, for example, we do that directly with the workers. Well, since the early days, TAUS started an academic membership program, thanks to which universities around the world could become TAUS members for free and benefit from discounts on our e-learning products and other services, and get free access to our publications. And also in our events, we regularly have academic speakers to try and keep the conversation and cooperation between business and academia going. And well, this cooperation was again very helpful for the Human Language Project, as we could leverage these academic partnerships for our recruitment locally. And well, indeed, later in the webinar, we'll have, for example, Sara, a student from one of our academic members, the Italian University of Bologna. She recently just started cooperating with us on a data evaluation project. Yeah, that's also why we call it a controlled community, like Anna May also mentioned earlier, because the recruitment and onboarding process is managed either by us or by the local ambassadors. And access to projects is not open to anybody logging on the platform. It is granted based on different requirements per project, linguistic skills or affinity with specific products or subjects, for example. And from the beginning, we've aimed at building our crowd based on a fair cooperation principle. Our goal was to create a very lean platform and lean workflows, thanks to both technology and automation, and to keep the supply chain also very short. This resulted in a very light structure, which enabled us to, let's say, avoid unnecessary layers and overhead costs. And these savings in turn made it possible to ensure a fair compensation to our workers, while still remaining competitive as well for our clients. Another important aspect we committed to from the beginning was transparent and timely payment to our ambassadors and workers. All work is compensated weekly, of course, either via the ambassador where applicable, or via the automated payment system that is built in our platform. And well, this resulted in a very high satisfaction and engagement rate among the workers. As you see here from here below under the map, there are some statistics that came out from a survey that we just recently run on our workers. But what kind of data services are we actually handling on the HLP platform? Well, there are several use cases, as you can see here, from data creation to annotation, human evaluation, and data collection or transcription. We focus on different types of language data. That is our focus. It can be text, audio, or images, and data that is mainly meant for AI or machine learning purposes, like, for example, machine training. In the case of, for example, data creation or evaluation. Or in the case of data annotation, for example, a use case is to improve data searchability, for example. We actually recently published a case study that covers one of these cases about data annotation. So you can find also here a bit more information on this specific case study. We've been talking a lot about the platform, but how does work actually look like on the platform? We try to give you some visual idea of how it looks like with a few screenshots. Mainly, the work is presented as micro tasks. They are so small chunks of work, and the size can change and can be customized depending on needs. Users can simply claim a task, and depending again on the needs. For example, here we are seeing the data creation projects. We could have translation tasks or review tasks. That depends on again on the choice that we make at the beginning of a project on the level of quality for the output. So we can have one of multiple review rounds. The interface is looking like what you see here in the bottom screenshots. This one here is the translation interface. We try to keep information easy and simple. So we give some instructions at the top. We set the time to complete the task, which is very, very reasonable. In this case, it's 12 hours. All this information is also customizable and can be adapted to any need. And well, the interface is quite simple. The workers can just type in their translation, and once all is done, they can submit it. We have some built-in checks to make sure that, for example, nothing is left empty, and we check, for example, also that the correct script for that language is used. And next to this, you can see the interface for example, the review task with a slightly different set of instructions. And of course, here the target has already been filled in, and the worker can just click on the box and update, or simply approve if all is correct, or reject. And just on top of here, we also have, of course, also some admin pages that look like this. We can search for different projects, have a full picture of everything that has been done or is in progress. And here you see also, for example, that we can check on whether something has been found to be too similar to automated translation. We give some scores depending on also, again, project needs to identify whether something is too close or not to automated translation. And we track time as well to know if something is submitted too quickly, which could be also a potential flag for to trigger extra checks. And just to give you another example of a different type of tasks, this is how our data annotation projects look like. The initial idea is the same. There's a task that can be claimed, and while opening a data annotation task, this is the interface that the user is presented with. Again, some instructions, and in this case, we had some customized tags that the user had to apply to each of the words in this sentence, for example. Also, all this is totally customizable. All the tags can be modified. We can add information as well on tags that is always available to the workers while they are working. So once the words are tagged, this is how they would look like. They would have a color-coded tag also very clearly visible underneath. And these two images here are also about our admin pages. This top page is basically giving an overview of all the tokens in a project and the different tags that have been used. So that, for example, in this case, we see with a different color something that needs more checks. And here we have a page where we can apply searches across project and also modify information across projects, so to guarantee consistency. And I think I am now, I gave you a bit of an insight in our platform and how and our communities behind the platform, and now we are so passionate about it. So I guess it's time for Anna-Mai to take the mic again and start the panel discussion.
Yes, well, not just me, of course. I'd love for Abdul Salam, Shamila, and Sarah to also turn on your cameras and your microphones. Maybe not the microphones yet until you are speaking to avoid the background noises. But yeah, it's time for a conversation, and we'd like to start with Abdul Salam. And Abdul Salam is one of our ambassadors based in Turkey, who speaks many languages, many more than I ever will. But English is not one of them. So we have my colleague Şölen Aslan, who happens to be from Turkey as well, functioning as interpreter today for our conversation with Abdul Salam. But maybe we can start with just hearing from you yourself, Abdul Salam, a little bit more about who you are and why you decided to join HLP.
Abdüselam, kendini tanıtabilir misin ve HLP'deki rolünü?
Tamam. İsmim Abdüselam Yıldırım. Ben Türkiye'liyim. İstanbul'da yaşıyorum. Kürdüm. Türkçe, Farsça, Arapça yanı sıra Kürtçenin Kurmancı, Sorani, Zazaca ve İran'da konuşulan Hevramice, Lorca ve Kerurca dillerini konuşmaktayım. Kürtçe, Farsça, Türkçe ve Arapça dillerinde yazılmış 6 teorik akademik kitap şu ana kadar çevirdim. Ayrıca Sorani, Türkçe sözlük, gramer şeklinde hazırladığım bir kitap ve yabancılar için Kürtçe üzerine yazılmış çeşitli ders kitaplarını ürettim. Yaklaşık 12 yıldır dil alanında çalışıyorum.
Hi everyone, my name is Abdüselam Yıldırım. I am from Turkey. I live in Istanbul. I am Kurdish. I am a linguist specialized in several languages, including Turkish, Persian, Arabic, Kurdish, Kurmanji, Sorani, Zazaki, Hevrami, and Kalhor. I've translated 6 theoretical academic books in Arabic, Kurdish, Persian, and Turkish. I have also written a Sorani Turkish dictionary and several Kurdish books for foreigners. I've been active in the language field for the last 12 years.
HLP'nin Orta Doğu elçisiyim. Şimdiye kadar HLP platformunda İngilizceden Türkçe ve Kürtçenin Soranca ve Kurmancı lehçelerinden her birinden 1 milyon kelimeyi çevirdim. Ayrıca 1 milyon Kurmancı Latince Arapça harfleriyle yazılmış Arapça harflerine dönüştürdüm. Yapay zeka ve makine öğrenimi projelerinde kullanılmak üzere medya ve haber alanındaki İngilizce, Kurmancı, Sorani dil çiftliğinde 200.000 kelime tercüme ettim.
So far for the HLP platform, I've been the community ambassador for Turkish, Sorani, and Kurmanji. For each of these languages, the community that I've been the ambassador for translated 1 million words each. We have also converted 1 million Kurmanji words written in Latin alphabet into Arabic alphabet. Additionally, 200,000 English Kurmanji and English Sorani words in the news domain have been translated to be used in the training of AI and ML systems.
Ayrıca kendi ekibimle beraber 100.000 civarında bir data ürettik. İleride bunu HLP platformunda yukarıda biraz önce bahsettiğim dillere çevirmek için bir hazırlık aşamasındayız.
We are also in the preparation phase to again use the HLP platform to translate another 100,000 source data.
Yeah, so it's great. Thank you, Abdusalam, for your introduction and for telling us a bit more about the work with HLP. I can imagine that there are also some challenges covering so many languages. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Bu kadar dilde HLP'de çalışmanın belli bir zorlukları da olmuştur. Bu zorluklardan da bahsedebilir misin?
Yani öncelikle şunu belirtmek istiyorum. En zorlandığım durumlardan biri de şu oldu. Platformda temsil ettiğim diller farklı bölge ve ülkelerde kullanılmasıydı. Örneğin Soranca lehçesini kullananlar hem Irak, Kürdistan bölgesinde hem İran'da konuşuyorlardı.
My biggest challenge was that the workers that I've been the ambassador for in the community, they come from different regions and countries. For instance, Sorani speakers were both from Iraq and Iran, so that was a big challenge.
Ben bu ülkelere gitmeden sadece Soranca dili için 200 civarında çevirmen ile iletişime geçtim. Tabii bu çevirmenlerin hepsi projede yer almadı ama kaygılarım olduğundan dolayı kendime alternatif hazırlıyordum. Hem pandemiden dolayı bu ülkelere gidemezdim. Proje boyunca her gün bu bahsettiğim 200 çevirmen, 200 civarındaki çevirmen grubuyla yani aralıksız bir şekilde proje boyunca bunlarla iletişim halindeydim. Yani bu anlamda zorlanıyordum gerçekten.
I had to communicate and evaluate over 200 workers for Sorani only, and without even seeing them in person because of the pandemic. And not even though not all of them actively worked in the HLP projects, I had to make sure that we were covered in terms of number of people for the delivery of the tasks.
Bu durum sadece yani Soranca için değil, aslında diğer temsil ettiğim Türkçe ve Kurmancı için de geçerliydi. Yani toplamda 3 dil için 400 civarında bir çevirmenle görüşüp bu projeler için ikna ettim. Yani herhangi bir sorundan ötürü ya da teknik bir durumdan ötürü ya da çevirmenler beni hani pişman olup projeyi yarıda bırakmamaları için bu anlamda elimden geldiği kadar çevirmen sayısını yüksek tutuyordum. Bunun için de hani belli bir zaman durumu olurdu. Yani zaman vermek zorunda kalıyordum ve bu beni gerçekten zorluyordu.
The same situation is correct for the other languages that I was the ambassador for. Because of the pandemic, I was not able to travel to the regions and the countries all of these workers were scattered in. So maintaining this remote communication with over 400 workers was quite challenging. Also to convince them continually, to stay dedicated to the project and the tasks at hand. And also consider that these communities do not have very fast or stable internet access or the infrastructure.
And of course, I'm very curious about the highlights. What were some of the great, the positive experiences that you've had?
Peki olumlu tecrübelerin nelerdi? Olumlu tecrübelerinden bahsedebilir misin?
Tabii bunun olumlu tarafları da var. Yani herkesin eve çekildiği bir dönemde, Covid sürecinde bu topluluğa ekonomik bir gelir sağlıyorsun. Diğer yandan bu insanları veriyle tanıştırıyorsun. Dijital dönüşümün merkezine çekiyorsun ve bu alana yönlendiriyorsun. Yani HLP'den HLP'de üretim kolaylığını gösteriyorsun, sağlıyorsun. Tüm bunlar bu işin yani bu platformun, bu projenin kolaylığıydı ve olumlu yanıydı.
Yeah. The highlight was by becoming a TAUS HLP ambassador, together with TAUS, we were able to provide an economic opportunity to these underrepresented and mostly oppressed communities, as many lost their jobs because of the COVID-19. Yet introducing the concept and purpose of language data generation to these communities was very important and motivating, and positioning them as a community in the center of this digital transformation was challenging, but also what made it worth it. But now they know, how easily they can contribute to the digital existence of their native language thanks to HLP.
Great, that's fantastic. And well, we might come back to you later, Abdul Salam. If there are questions from the audience, don't forget to type them in the chat. Let's continue. Simona.
Yeah, I think indeed we can have another view on this from Shamila, our ambassador for Sri Lanka. Well, we heard from Abdul Salam. He's been already in the translation industry for a while, but when contacting our ambassadors, we also came across individuals that were not that much into the translation industry yet, maybe more in the academic world, like Shamla. So it's interesting also to hear that other point of view. So, well, as of course, you can start presenting yourself, mentioning a few more things about yourself and indeed about your experience with HLP. Oh, it looks like your microphone is still off. We cannot hear you.
Okay.
Yes, now we can hear you. Go ahead.
Sorry, because we had a power cut while we were going through this, and then fortunately we resumed it back.
Hope it holds, yeah.
So yes, I run an institute which is affiliated with the University of Cambridge. I'm also speaking examiner and a teacher trainer for the same. And well,
yeah, you were with us. Yeah, sorry, I actually forgot to mention that you were with us from the beginning of the HLP platform, which was also for us at the beginning quite an adventure, and you participated as well in the project for Sinhala, the official language of Sri Lanka for data creation.
Yes,
so
I also work for Sri Lanka, and that is official languages of Sri Lanka, where I teach English there, I instruct English there. That's right. And finding these co-workers was not much of a hectic thing. It was fine and good because we had quite a good amount of participants over there. They were quite good as well. They all were selected after the examination, a placement examination. And we got about 80 odd workers. They were really good. And handling them also was not that bad. They had issues at the we all had issues with the platform, how to use it, and small issues like having good internet. And then usual thing, one of the usual thing is a power cut every now and then. And and also obviously some of the other people were using like hand phones, cell phones, and it also was during COVID. So some of the workers went to their places where they were staying far away, remote places, where they did not have a proper internet access. But they all did. We all, as a team, we did it. And I'm also really happy if you are going to ask me, if you am to tell why I am a part of it, I was really happy to get into this because I'm representing Sri Lanka here, and that is the official languages of Sri Lanka. Sinhala is the official languages of Sri Lanka. And I think it is only Sri Lanka which uses Sinhala as its official languages, from what I know. So representing this is some opportunity for me, and I'm really proud of it. Yeah, and then
yeah, I think your workers were very committed, and of course, then you get to the point where a project is finished and they are kind of waiting for more. So that's also good to hear.
Actually, yes, they all were like enthusiastic. They did really good. Some of them were like into it. It was COVID and they were staying home. Some of them lost their jobs. They were getting paid every week. Obviously, payments also on my side, I got a little bit delayed here and there because of the pandemic. Again, we could not go out. We could not cooperate with the banks, stuff like that. But again, it was really good. It went out really well. Some of them started asking me after the project was over, are we having any more projects? Please include me into that. I said, yes, if we get one, yes, definitely you all are in again. You all are in again, yes. So by the end of the project, they also were given a certificate. I think that was really, really valuable for them because especially those students who were still studying, undergraduates, that they said it's really valuable for them because as they go out of the university for their career, it's going to bring out some good weight. Obviously, yes, because it's from an international body, TAUS. So yes, it is going to hold up some good weight for them. And I enjoyed working, and the TAUS team was really helpful. I had issues with the platform, learning it myself because it was something new to me, just like to most of my workers. So it was like we had a really good team actually. A TAUS team, I should thank them a lot. They were putting up a lot with us, answering every single questions, every single small issues and all. After that, actually, handling the platform was not an issue. Once we understood it, it was quite okay. It was a really easy platform to understand and then to work with and work to also. The scripts were quite easy because they were in short scripts like sentences.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes,
They
we
were
had those
individual sentences.
Yes, either like, stories picked up from stories or notes or even news events and everything. It was quite interesting. We found it very interesting. Some of them were like quite funny and explicit, obviously, yes. And then we just did not mind about those things. We also knew that it didn't come from TAUS. They were like coming from other sources and we didn't mind them. But we did the translation. We enjoyed it actually. I think it was like something God sent during the COVID, especially with my workers. They started telling us it was really a blessing. So I think TAUS helped my country, most of my citizens, I mean, whoever was working with, not most of my citizens here, most of my workers and myself as well. We earned through that, we earned. And then it was like we are staying home and we didn't have to put ourselves into too much of hectic struggles or anything. It was at a process, yes, we learned it. After that, it was fine and good. It went smoothly.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. And indeed, at the beginning, for the ambassadors who were with us from the beginning, also the platform was in development, so there were also things that were being adjusted, and indeed we had some trainings and support. But yeah, I mean, for us, the key aspect in choosing our local ambassadors was, of course, the trust that we both had in each other and the commitment to us and to the workers. And yeah, I think we were really very lucky with the people we found in all these countries. And I think then it's a good moment to jump to the other side of, or to get another perspective, more from the workers' side. We have here Sarah, translations. Well, actually, tell us about yourself.
Okay, yes. So, hi everybody. My name is Sara. I'm an Italian student in the Master of Specialized Translation at the University of Bologna, as they already said. And So yes, of course, my interest is in translation. And when one of my teachers told me about this opportunity to co-work with TAUS on the Human Language Project, of course, for me it was a great opportunity, and I didn't hesitate to take it. And yes, so I don't have as much experience as, of course, Shamila and Abdul Salam, but still I'm really glad to be here and to have the opportunity to talk about my my experience with TAUS, because it's a really positive one, even if it's still a short one. It has been really positive so far, and mostly because it gave me the opportunity to like to do something more practical while still studying. So as Shamila also told before, it's really important, I think, for students to have the opportunity to get in touch with the like with the working environment. And so this is what I feel I'm doing now with the TAUS, because well, later on also, yes, of course, also on my CV it will look really good, I think. And it's also providing me with a lot of experience. And yes, so overall it's a really good experience, and I'm really happy.
Yeah, I think it's in your case, you also see different aspects of what are the new trends and needs in the translation industry, because specifically you are working with us for a data evaluation project. So that also, I think, is good for you to experience, because that's going to be more and more coming up also for the new cultural professional, as we said from the beginning.
Yeah, sure, and it also gives me the opportunity to put in practice the knowledge that I have been given during my classes at university. So I have a class on machine translation evaluation this semester. So it's actually is what I'm doing for you. So yes.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think there were also some questions from the audience. I don't know if there is any for the panelists already.
Well, before we go into that, Simona, I just thought it would be nice to mention earlier this week we had our prep call with Sarah, Shamila, and Abdul Salam, and we talked about all of this, obviously, but you know, we're talking very much about the task themselves and the work. But what was funny to me is that Abdul Salam mentioned that a lot of his workforce was female, and indeed, as Shamila also said, some of the texts that are that needed to be translated were very colloquial, some maybe a bit sexist, and maybe Sholen, if you can ask Abdul Salam to tell us his experience in with the workforce in.
Abdüselam, kadınlarla ilgili bir hikaye anlatmıştın hazırlık toplantısında. Bu yaptığınız projelerde karşına çıkan bu durumlardan bahsedebilir misin?
Tamam.
Bu hikaye özellikle bize anlattığın hikaye.
Tamam. Şimdi normalde projelerde tüm projelerde biz yani her 3 dil için de önceliği kadınlara ve LGBT'li arkadaşlara veriyorduk. Yani çevirmen genel çevirmen kotasının %70'i kadınlar ve LGBT'li arkadaşlardı. Şimdi çalışan kadınların neredeyse yani büyük çoğunluğu feminist arkadaşlardı ve tasklarda çok cinsiyetçi, bazen yani çok cinsiyetçi cümleler falan çıkıyordu. Bu cinsiyetçi cümlelerle bu feminist arkadaşlar bunlarla karşılaşınca cümlenin karşısında şöyle bir not yazarlardı genelde, biz bu cümleyi kabul etmiyoruz, yani biz bu anlayışı kabul etmiyoruz, ondan dolayı bu cümleyi biz çevirmiyoruz Ve ben mecbur kalıyordum, yani bir şey de diyemiyordum. O cümleyi yani bir erkek çevirmene çevirtiyordum.
Yeah, 70% of our workforce for the 3 languages that I was the ambassador for was women, and most of these women define themselves as really strict feminists. And some of the sentences in the source documents in these translation projects, the female workers found them, not very nice or sometimes sexist. So next to it, instead of a translation, they would just leave a note saying, we do not accept this and we will not convey this into our own language. So they would just leave it blank or leave a note. And we had to get these empty translations translated by men instead.
So some extra cultural challenges there. But that was no problem for you, Shamila and Sarah. You were also fine with translating these texts.
No, actually we had those thing, but we took it as a joke. Most of them, laughing about it. They took it as a joke, and also we understood it is. That's like what I told you the other day. I think how people are a little more sensible than that. Salam was handling. They were like, they took it. They know that we are not doing it. I'm not doing it, not neither TAUS. Those are the scripts, but they were the customers were giving it to you all. So we have to just do it.
Yeah.
We do it, yes.
Yeah, and Sarah, I think you said it very nicely as a translator yourself, or especially in this project. You are feeling fine with translating these things, right?
Yes, actually, I didn't really find any sexist or offending sentence. But yes, what I think is, and what my teachers told me, is that you are just a messenger while translating or interpreting, and so you should just do it without feeling like you are telling it yourself.
Yeah, it's not your voice, it's the message, indeed.
Not to take it personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, because indeed the many of the work we've done is about colloquial and user-generated content, and of course there is a huge variety of registers, and you can come across things that are indeed explicit or that might be for someone not really easy to handle.
Yeah, so questions. There are a few already in the chat box, but if you have anything you'd like to ask Simona or Sarah, Shamila, Abdulsalam, write them in the chat box now. We still have about 12 minutes for that. One question already that comes in, or that came in, is what kind of people are you looking for to work on the platform? What kind of profile do people need to have? Workers, crowd workers. So Simona, I guess, is a good question.
We aim at highly educated native speakers. That's also why we target students mainly. So. And specifically of language studies. So we also know that their level of English is good, of course, because many tasks involve anyways understanding English anyway for the communication with us, but also to be able to perform translation or evaluating something across 2 languages. So that's our main target.
And maybe to add is that we want them to really be deeply rooted in their local culture, right? If there are projects where some cultural knowledge is needed in the language, especially with colloquial texts, that is also a prerequisite.
Yeah, exactly. That's a high-level profile, but of course it depends on the type of project. If we need to, for example, annotate data for very strange products, then we also need to have someone that has an understanding of that product, to understand which parts of the sentence refer to what label or to what tag. So there are many different, let's say, skills that come on top of the initial one, but that is very project specific.
Another question is, and so far I'm only seeing questions for Simona. So,
okay.
by the way, also Sarah and Shamila and Abdul Salam, feel free to ask each other or us questions as well. If you have anything burning on your tongue, feel free to speak up. But yeah, Simona, a few questions here on, how do you decide which languages you're going to work on?
Yeah, there can be a mix of situations, of course, that can come from a specific client's request. But we also, at the very beginning for Indian languages, that was our own endeavor, because we noticed that was a very hot market, and that there was still a scarcity of language besides the most common Hindi, but also the other Indian languages. So at that point, we started that ourselves. So indeed, the focus on specific areas comes mainly from the business, from the requests we get, or our own strategy if we want to decide that an area is has good potential, then we can go and start a project ourselves.
And where does the source data come from? Is it from TAUS or from the client?
That can again be that can be different. We of course have a large data repository, and thanks to our matching data, we also help some clients to narrow down, let's say, from the big data repositories we have, more smaller and more domain-specific corpora. So that's also a source of English language data that we can use for if we decide to start a project ourselves, or of course it comes from the client if we are working on a specific project for them.
Yeah, at a point, Simona, I remember after the project was over, and then what I had to do later on about the length of the words with the machine translation. So I can still remember that word. It is 27 in English and 24 in Sinhala. Right?
I think it's you're referring to the automated checks that we run
Right.
at the end of production. So of course those are non-linguistic checks. We also have linguistic checks, but the ones you're referring to, where basically checking to find macro differences between source and target, and we take those out and then we give them to the linguist again to make sure that indeed there is no, for example, if the English is like, I don't know, having 20 words and the translation only has 2, or the other way around, then you might imagine that there is something wrong there. So indeed, that was one type of check that might have come across as a bit funny for in some cases.
Another question here is, and maybe Abdul Salam, you can help answering this question since your community was the biggest from the people here. How long does it take to build a community? Maybe Shulen.
Abdüselam, topluluğu oluşturmak ne kadar sürüyor? Sen bu grup içerisinde en kalabalık grubu topluluğu yönettiğin için sana yöneltiyorum.
Tekrarlar mısın soruyu şöyle?
Topluluğu oluşturmak, bu çalışanları bulmak ne kadar zaman alıyor?
Yani aslında yaşadığım ülkede, yani Türkiye'de yani çok fazla bir şey olmadı, çok fazla bir zaman olmadı. yani çok zaman yani Türkiye'deki sadece Türkiye için ki çevirmenleri bir 10 gün 10 günlük süre içerisinde ben halletmiştim ama daha çok yurt dışındaki şeyler biraz zorladı. Yüz yüze görüşme olanan olmuyor, imkanın olmuyor. O anlamda yani ki zorladım yani epey bir zaman verdim ama 15 günümü falan aldı yani.
For the workers that were based in Turkey, it took about 10 days. But for those located in other countries, it took longer to kind of evaluate them and then choose them for projects. So that took another extra 15 days or so.
İkincisi bir de şöyle bir durum. Ben kendim dil alanıyla ilgilendiğim için hani İran'daki özellikle dil bilimcileri yani orada tanıdıklarım var ve işte Kürdistan bölgesinde dil bölümünü okumamdan dolayı ve orada da o alanda kendi tanıdıklarım var. Yani alanım olduğundan dolayı çevirmene ulaşmak çok fazla zor olmadı ama bu iletişim konusu işte yüzle görüşme fırsatları dediğim gibi olmadığından dolayı o anlamda biraz zaman aldı. Ama daha çok böyle sosyal medya veya şey üzerinde değil de birebir tanıdığım insanlar üzerinde ben bu çevirmenleri yani bu topluluğu oluşturdum.
My strategy was to create this community based on my personal connections. Me being a linguist coming from the language industry and having studied in Kurdistan, I already had access to communities that speak these languages as their native languages. So my main strategy was to go through my own network and then find the people who speak the languages. But then again, repeating, the challenge was to evaluate them and then onboard them for the project because of the remote communication we had to establish.
Great, thank you. Teşekkürler.
Rica ederim.
Sarah, a question for you, maybe as the only worker here in the room. How big are these tasks? Is it something you can easily do while you're a student, while you have maybe other work to do? Can you talk a bit about that, the time it takes for you?
Yes, sure. So it depends on the week. Like the first week, I only had 2 tasks and it was really quick because like it was 1 hour for each. So it was basically 2 hours in a week and that's really small. But now is like increasing each week. So for instance, this week I have 9 tasks. So of course it's going to take a little longer than usual. But still I try to manage. I'm also doing an internship right now and I'm having lessons and yes, like my days are quite full, but still I can manage to do it because it's really practical because in fact you can do it whenever you want. I mean, you have a due date, but yes, apart from that, you can do it whenever you want in your day. So it's really practical for this.
That's
Good.
right.
Thanks. Final question.
Yeah, that is a bit like, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Simone.
No, I was just gonna add that is indeed the challenge of a crowd work-based approach. So you need to have a broader base of a broader community so that you can indeed compensate for the moments where some of the community members have less availability.
Yeah. I have a quick, or hopefully a quick answer question. Simona, for you to finish, we only have 1 more minute on the clock. How do you ensure quality? It's a very important question, but I'm sure you have a quick answer for that.
Yeah, well, we have several layers, not good. I don't know if it's gonna be enough to fit in a minute, but different layers of automated checks. We have an NLP team that helped us set up a lot of automated ways to check or to catch potentially problematic translation or work on the go. But then we also have different possibilities to fit in a workflow, a review step, or multiple review steps. We have, besides the review done by the workers, also a second layer of review done by what we call lead reviewers, so linguists, specialist linguists that are having admin access, so can have a look on the full project. And also before we on the, let's say, on the output, on the final output, we also run a full lot of automated checks that are then feeding some results or reports that we verify with the linguist. So there's different ways, and depending on the project, we can add more or different ones.
Great. Well, that was exactly a minute.
That was quick.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you especially Sarah, Shamila, and Abdul Salam today, and Simona for joining us and sharing a bit more
Thanks
about
to you,
your
Anna-Mai.
experience. Yeah, thank you. And if you have
for the
any questions,
interpreting.
of course, yes, Jolene, not to forget. But if any questions come up after this, feel free to send us a note, and we'd be happy to get in touch. For now, I wish you a good afternoon, morning, or evening, depending where you are in the world. And see you next month. Bye-bye.
Bye.